one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Okay, and with that, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Superintendent Chavez, were there any changes or modifications we need to make?
Yes, there are two, Madam Chair. We need to pull the first read of policy 205. We are working to change the language to allow schools and or the district to pay for volunteer background checks, and we weren't able to finalize what that language should sound like. So we'll bring that next month.
Which one is that?
Policy number 205, it was the first read.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other item, it's more of just a note on the consent agenda. We now have 5 maintenance bars that are part of the consent agenda. You probably noticed that. We just want to make it publicly known. Maintenance bars are to transfer money between functions. And if you really want to know what functions are, I'll be happy to give you a lesson, but it's transferring between functions and there's no PED approval required. It's just internal approval moving within the same fund. So with that, we do have those there to speed up the process.
Okay, and those are the same 5 that are listed on the agenda.
Exactly.
Okay. Does anybody else have any proposed changes? Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Crowe?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Orozco,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes,
Mrs. Hernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes.
Okay. And with that, then we'll move to the student council report. And again, we're excited y'all are back here in person.
I like your shirt.
Alrighty, so good evening Superintendent Chavez, Madam President Hernandez, my name is Victoria Baca, and I'm the Student Council Communications Director.
Hi, my name is Latiana Bowier, and I'm the sophomore class vice president.
So to give you a report on what our Student Council has been working on lately, we are hosting a Junior Student Council Conference. So this will include grades 4 through 12 within 11 schools in our district. At this conference, we'll host small group workshops, large group workshops. We'll have different activities. We'll also have special guest speakers from our community, and we're so excited to host this event. It will be held March 30th. And you guys are more than welcome to come and check it out and see how this event turns out. This is our first year doing it, so we're super excited, and hopefully it's something we continue.
Where will it be?
What's that?
Where will it be?
It'll be at the Deming High School.
Okay,
What time?
Times, it should start around 10, I believe.
Okay.
9:30, 10.
maybe someone can send that to the superintendent.
Duly noted.
We are also currently working with junior class for prom. We are cleaning the whole Facket patio, so prom can be held there.
Oh,
It will be on April 9th, and the theme will be a starry night in Paris.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
fancy.
Can we come to that too?
I know. I don't think they want us to go to that.
It would be fun.
I would like to go.
I don't think I've ever been rejected like that.
You're gonna have to bust some moves.
Oh, well, then I.
We'll do that.
Miss Cameron's the one to do it.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I do have a question.
Yes.
When did student council start at grade 4?
Well, usually like some schools don't have student councils. So what some schools are doing, they're just sending like they would say like their future student leaders. So ones that are interested in joining student council.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's super that they get to go to the high school and learn
Yes.
from you all. I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
We're super excited.
So I have another question. Let's see if I can stump you. So if we started a student advisory, like a superintendent board kind of student advisory, do you think student council could recruit people for us? High school students to give us input on things? Because that's something that's been on my to-do list, but we've still been,
Right.
still getting my feet on the ground, but
We
yeah.
have a
that's-
lot of great leaders at the high school.
I bet. That must be the YouTube live
It is.
that we were just listening to. So,
I was thinking someone was asking the question.
right. Okay, I know you have super leaders, but I could come to you guys and you'd help me recruit people for that.
Of course.
Awesome.
Without a doubt.
Thank you.
See, I told you we had a question for you.
You're prepared.
You
I got
didn't believe
it.
me.
Yeah.
We're gonna increase the question every time, number
There
of
you go.
times.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I guess we're advertising Harley Davidson today.
Yeah,
Oh,
is that, yes?
it's Mr.
It's Mr. Miller.
Oh,
Okay, now we'll move on to Ms. Chung from NEA.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. I feel kind of like what I'm going to talk about. I just finally got around to looking at the agenda and I'm like, oh, they're both on there. So the first thing is, and I've already come to Vicki with a little bit of it this recent meeting, is student attendance. Every grading period, at least once a grading period, teachers are being asked to look at their student data, and we have to do student action plans on those. And those action plans include looking at your students who haven't done the worst on your assessments, right?
Mhm.
The problem this year has been every single teacher will tell you their kids at the bottom are the kids that aren't in class. You know, we really do as a district need to focus on how we're going to address those gaps because the teachers are very real at seeing those. And for many teachers, it can get a little frustrating even because you're having principals and such an admin saying, hey, bring them up. And at the high school, hey, make sure they graduate. Hey, do your best to get them to pass. And how do you do that when they're not in class? You know, and it is a very big issue. So just bring that to you guys' attention. Like I said, you're going to hear about it later. The other one is looking at the attendance days, because I know that this recent planning period, that planning day that we had a lot of teachers absent. However, I know that you guys put the planning out there for teachers and teachers appreciate it so very, very much that you guys are doing that. But when the teachers that were out and the people that I'm talking to were saying, I'm like, what happened? They're like, well, I had to have a dentist appointment. And do I make my dentist appointment on the day when I don't have school or when I can do my planning time somewhere else? Or do I make it with the day I'm with my students? We have people that have to make vet appointments, dentist appointments, doctor's appointments. I mean, there's a lot that goes on in your life. And for a teacher, when we're planning the day that we're going to miss, because we have to kind of look ahead at that, we typically pick the easiest day, and that's the day where you don't have your students, right? We don't have to plan for subs. The students don't miss instruction. So it makes those days look bad. Now, is there more to it? Maybe. Are there some teachers that just don't think it's important? Possibly. But there are a lot of teachers that appreciate you guys giving it, but when they're looking at having to take a day off in the next month, they specifically choose that day because it's the easiest day for them to miss. You know, so any questions?
So I have a question. So later on the agenda, we also have the calendar. And I'm assuming you've had an opportunity to look at those calendars?
I've looked at the calendars. I don't know that I have the current one. I did see one on Monday. I know tweaks have occasionally been happening throughout the last couple of weeks. I did ask a bunch of teachers. Out of all the teachers I've talked to, only one teacher was not, and this is their most common opinion. Wait, from elementary teachers, I'm gonna get 6 weeks of vacation. And then from high school staff, I'm gonna get paid how much extra? You know,
Okay.
so most of them have been for it. The only one that wasn't was the ag teacher who will only get 2 weeks of a vacation because she has things all June.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah.
typically July was her time off. So she was the only one that was like, I'm not so sure. I talked to about 12, 15 people.
Okay, so I was going to ask you a little bit more specific question, and if you don't know the answer, that's okay. But I'm just wondering if one of those calendars addresses the issue of teachers not coming or not showing up for prep time as much as the other
I don't
calendars,
really
or
think
if it
so, because
doesn't
like I
make a
said,
difference.
teachers, I mean, everybody, right, looks at, I have to take a day off. We all have that time where you have to take a day off. When do you plan that day off?
Mhm.
And like I said, I don't know that you're really gonna be able to totally fix the fact that they're gonna pick a day that they can make up after school or go in on a Saturday or stay late. You know what I mean? I don't know that there's a real way to really do that. I mean, I know I'm doing a lot during spring break, But then there are people that have family stuff going on all during spring break. You know, I've got to take my dogs to the vet. When do I do that? You know,
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
It's always a dilemma.
it
It's
is. I
Always
mean, it's
been.
just a very real thing that you can't always, you know, account for. That's why we have sick days. It's why we have those days built in for those appointments and stuff. And I really don't know if there's a better way to get teachers to attend them. I do know that on some of the days that they've had trainings, teachers that think the trainings are really, you know, important tend to be there for those. So I'm hoping that when we have those training days and then the planning days, that that'll help too, to make sure they're there.
Can I ask a question, Charity? And I'm not, trust me, I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything like that, but like tomorrow is Friday
Mhm.
and then the next week is spring break. So people are gonna take that day off for dentist appointments and stuff because it is the last, you know what I'm saying? Are they gonna try,
yeah,
are they
no,
gonna try
I
to
get
make
you.
it the whole, you know, get an extra day for spring break, you know what I'm saying? And that's the only thing that I say. I mean, it comes down to be having morals and ethics and there's responsibility, you know,
There are.
you're talking somebody that works 60, 80
I will
hours
say
a week,
this.
you know, so it doesn't bother me.
So I'll go
You
to
know.
something that was said to me back in the day, and the district hasn't done it or hasn't like had any enforcement for it for years, but under Harvey Lee Moore, right? We were specifically told, unless you had proof, you weren't allowed to take off the day before a holiday.
Day, yeah.
They haven't enforced that or done anything with that. So your teachers that have been with the district for the longest are like, what's up with the new people taking it all the time?
Mhm.
You know?
Right.
Because they remember that we were specifically not allowed to, but none of that's really been, and it's something that we can talk about and look at, because like I said,
Mhm.
most of the people that have been here longer have said that. But like I said, for the planning days, the way you guys have spaced them out, which like I said, we love, but it comes down to teachers going, or even I had a teacher this week tell me she needed a mental health day. She was gonna take a day no matter what. And she's like, do I take it on Wednesday or do I take it on Thursday when I have my kids? So she took it on Wednesday. She said she came back much refreshed, was able to get everything done, you know? So that's what it comes down to your teachers for missing the planning days you guys have given. Is that the best thing ever? I know it feels like we don't appreciate it, but we really do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charity.
Okay, and with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Superintendent Chavez.
The consent agenda items are there, and I would recommend that you would approve the consent agenda, inclusive of the maintenance bars.
Madam Chair, I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Also, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, Mr. Cole?
Yes,
do the
ma'am.
roll call.
Mr. Orozco,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez,
Yes.
and Mr. Crowe, yes.
Okay. And then as part of the Deming Public Schools accountability procedures and as recommended by the state auditor, 3 bills were randomly selected and audited by the board. The board also reviewed a monthly report of activity funds and all procedures met state and district regulations. And with that, we'll move on to the action items. Superintendent Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The first item A is approval of the budget adjustments, and Mrs. Doyle is here on the Zoom to share an overview of them and to answer any questions.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. We do have a number of budget adjustments before you, but thankfully not as many as we have had in the past, because the maintenance bars, again, just are moving money from object code to object code within the same function. So you'll see, movement within the instruction function or movement within the student services function, but not between the two. Those I will bring before you for approval. So the first one that is not a maintenance bar, it's actually an increase bar. And this is for our 3% compensation salary increases. And what this is we are required to provide our employees 3% of the last quarter of their salary. And we will be paying this out on June 30. And this is just the increase that PED has provided us to cover those raises. Now, I will say that this is operational and it covers our operational raises. Unfortunately, they did not account for our federal programs, so those we will probably be bringing before you budget adjustments at the next meeting to cover those raises because there was no additional funding provided for those. Then the second bar that you have is, and this has been a long time coming, I first started asking PED about this at the beginning of the year because we were told that we would get additional funding to cover the 1% ERB increase that went into effect in July. We're just now getting that funding in March, but this is to cover the increase ERB cost from July 1 to current. We do also have our Healthy Schools bar, which is something that we receive every year. It's been the same allocation, I believe even the same budget line items every year, so no change there. And then finally, we do have funding that we will be receiving for our bus that we have. I'm not sure if we've received the bus. I know it is on order for our additional route that we were approved for by PED.
Yeah, I don't believe we have received it, Mrs. Doyle.
I don't believe so. I know it's on order, but I don't believe we've received it. So the funding will be there when we do receive it, which will be nice. Excuse me. And then finally, Title I, as we work to make sure that our principals have access to as much funding as possible. As we get closer to the end of the year, we're looking at salary savings and things like that and making it, moving it to a place where they can utilize it at this point in the year. And I believe there will probably be one more once we do another sweep of salary savings, but I'm not entirely sure what that will encompass at this time. But that's all I have at this point. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions or comments? Motions?
I'll move approval.
Is there a second? Mr. Cole?
Mr. Orozco,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes,
Mrs. Hernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes.
And with that, we'll move,
Thank
thank
you.
you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Doyle. With that, we'll move to action item B.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this is, we're requesting approval to dispose of a bus. And I have Mr. Milo on Zoom to give us a little overview and then stand for any questions.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, this disposal, it's only one item. It's a 2005 Bluebird rear engine activity bus. This bus was trade-in on the new activity bus that we received the other day. So once this clears and it meets its time, then the vendor will be contacted to come and pick it up.
Okay, and I know we were all super impressed with the new activity bus.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice.
Very, very
I
nice.
just wondered if we had a picture when we got that bus in 2005.
Right, that would be interesting. Comments or questions? There are motion?
I make a motion that we approve let me see, the disposal of the bus.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Orozco,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes,
Mrs. Hernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we'll move to action item C, the approval of the 22-23 calendar.
Madam Chair, members of the board, before you are 3 calendars that we developed. The first one in your packet is the K-12 plus balance. We are still going under the, we're moving forward with great anticipation that our K-12 plus application, when it's released and when we reply and all of that, is going to be funded. And so this first one is the balanced at the request of the board to take a look at what that would look like. The second one in your packet is the K-12 plus ending May 24th. That was proposed by Ms. Chung and the NEA. And the last one is just the K-12 plus. So the major differences you can see are the start and end dates of each of the calendars. The balanced calendar, I did get some feedback, which is the first one. I received two pretty big pieces. Parents have not, parent feedback, which has not been very many, but that have reached out, have said that 2 weeks is really hard if their child plays sports, because they still have to show up. It doesn't give the athletics a break, which is the same for any calendar. But when there's no school, it seems a little harder for some reason. We've also had families say, we don't know what we would do. That 5 days we can generally take care of, we can work around, but when it comes to 2 weeks, it's a little bit harder. I feel like I've had the most negative feedback on that balanced calendar, and it hasn't been a lot. It still hits the mark with the things that people had requested. So it is an option for sure. The other thing that Early College reported back, that when it's, they have to have a teacher available, at least one or two, to help their students who are taking classes, college classes, because college is still going to be going. So there still needs to be some tutoring support. Again, the 5 days, they can generally cover it, and it's not a big deal. The kids can handle it. But that second week, they just didn't want to leave the kids on their own. They would need to have a little skeleton crew to help support that. So that was the feedback that I received on that one. The K-12 plus ending May 24th. It does allow us, well, it ends May 24th for students. It does allow us to finish up before Memorial Day. We're coming back 2 days earlier. We also need some things that we have to keep in mind is that administrators, like an elementary principal, is 210. Middle school, high school principal and assistant principals are 220. So then we have to fit their days in either before or after the teacher contracts. And so we have to just, this one doesn't give us as much wiggle room, the ending May 24th, but and it does not give us President's Day, which is a federal holiday. I know, and I don't know, Ms. Chung, if you have anything else you'd like to add to that, but I know that this is the one you all felt was more favorable.
So one of the long-term things that NEA has always gotten is that people want to end before Memorial Day. They don't want to have to come back after that. That's been a traditional thing. And the reason why we didn't have federal holidays in the past is because NEA Deming went to Dr. Lear years ago and said, quit giving us these like half weeks, because we used to have half week for Thanksgiving and like partial week for whatever for fall break. And he made those full weeks and we gave up federal holidays. So a lot of people don't realize that that was the trade-off and why we've had to have federal holidays. Additionally, this does give students that federal holiday off. It just doesn't give your staff that holiday off. Most of the staff I've talked to have said if we can end before Memorial Day, they're willing to lose 1 day.
So, I mean, I think you would get a split response, honestly, because the feedback I've received is this other one, just the plain K-12 plus. They want the holiday off. They want all the federal holidays off. So I think you would get half of the people that would say, no, we don't care. And another half that would say, yes, we do care because my husband is off, my spouse is off, you know, other situations like that. So I think that, go ahead.
The kids would start on the 18th, basically.
Yeah. So when we look at the K-5 plus ending May 24th, staff would start on July 11th and would end on May 26th. And we would lose President's Day. I think those are the main issues. I mean, the main pieces that are different. When you look at the K-12 plus calendar, you're looking at staff starting on the 13th and students starting on the 19th. The other thing is we've had a few parents, and it has not been very many, but we've had a few parents say, my kid works, or we go on vacation. We don't want our kids coming back in July. And so those are things we're going to have to work through and just, but it's been a very small number of families. I think in general, and kids who need to work, we're going to work with our secondary schools to make sure that they can work those last 2 weeks of July and get work experience credit and that sort of thing. Most of the time our onion sheds start to wrap up around the end of July, and the ag work that is happening. So is starting to wrap up a little bit by that time, but we would definitely work with our students who need to work or have other family situations.
Would those count as absences on the?
Not if they're working. And if their family has something, we do planned absences sometimes when there's a reason for family. So we just work with them individually.
I did want to say thank you to you, and I see that Mr. Parker isn't here, but I know that you had a very short amount of time from our work session till now to kind of revamp this and respond to the things that the board requested. So I do appreciate that. I wanted to share the feedback I got as well. With regard to the balanced calendar, I have to say after the work session, I was kind of against the balanced calendar, but then because we thought there would be no summer, but then looking at it, it actually does give us only a very slightly shorter summer than the other two calendars. And you get that double break. I did hear from, I believe, 4 teachers that stated they liked the balanced calendar better because they felt like they got a larger amount of time to actually like spend time with their family, go on vacation, and also have some kind of mental health time during those big breaks. That being said, I did hear from one teacher who did not like that and liked the second calendar the best. And that was mostly having to do with our timing of adopting the calendar, is that teacher had already planned July vacation and also shared with me that, you know, one of her students, that child also intends to be in Mexico during all of July. So I do think that adding the 25 days for K-12 is going to be challenging in some ways, but I agree with you that we can resolve that, and we're going to have to deal with it regardless of which of these 3 calendars we pick. The concern I heard about the second calendar, let me try to remember. No, this one I did hear from a teacher that liked this calendar, not just because of that, but also because they do end before Memorial Day. I mean, that was a kind of a big thing since graduation's typically been around then. And then with regard to the last one, I also didn't hear anything negative about this. They also liked that we got a little more summer in July, even if it's only 2 days, right? But the going into June, so kind of the same thing as the previous calendar. And then just my own personal thought was with regard to the parent-teacher conference days. I'm just wondering if there's a way that we could do those on like a Thursday night. And I know we had done that once or twice before. And my idea was maybe it could be like 4 to 8 in the afternoon so that parents who are working are able to go to that parent-teacher conference. And then I was thinking maybe we could do something else with this day. Like maybe we could have that be a school day, and then we could take off some of these days that go into June. I don't know, but I just was thinking maybe there was a better way we could do the parent-teacher conferences and kind of buy us 2 days back, so to speak.
Right. So to kind of speak to the evenings, our schools have always done the evenings and given them, usually it's 3 nights that they have options for families to sign up for.
Okay.
I don't think we've had a school not do that. And then staff usually leaves about half a day on Wednesday, on that Friday, because they've been working 4 to 8 for 3 nights that week, or 4 to 7. You know, they've been giving those options. So we could. One thing to keep in mind is the 26th counts as an instructional day. So if we take it away and so we have the kids show up and the teachers do all evenings that night. We can't exchange it for a teacher work day because that's not an instructional day. It has to be, so where do we have another instructional day that we would remove? Because now that's the give on that. Those are the things we have to keep in mind when we're doing it. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I guess what I was saying is if we took the 26th and made that happen, I'm just looking like the February date, right? So
Which one?
if February 10th,
Which calendar?
oh, I'm sorry, the third one.
The
Sorry, the
K-12
third-
plus
Yes,
regular one?
yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So if that parent-teacher conference day became not an in-service, I'm sorry, an instructional day,
Mhm.
then the 26th, the students wouldn't need to go till the 25th, right? They would not have to go on the 26th. And that
That's
could be an
true.
in-service day for teachers, I guess is what I was thinking.
Oh,
And so we could move the June 1st date, right? That would be a vacation day. And they would make that up on the Friday, the 26th. No, it's kind of complicated and maybe I'm not explaining it very well.
no, I see what you're saying. I'm thinking through it.
Yeah,
Just
no,
making
I mean,
sure.
it also kind of makes August difficult because I know that we have the 2 weeks in July with no vacation, all of August, no vacation. And then teachers only get 1 day for Labor Day. But I was just trying to think if there was a way that we could kind of compromise on that. The other thing, I'm glad to know that the schools are doing it at night. 'Cause my oldest has been out 3 years, but I know I always had to take off work to go do
Right.
that.
No, they've
It
been
wasn't
doing
at night, so.
Can I comment on it?
Yeah.
I had a lot of people call me about the last calendar. They didn't like that they were going into June.
Okay.
That was their biggest thing. So the one in the middle to me seems to be the one that fits for what they want. That was the priority of them that called me. They wanted to make sure they started, I guess, before Labor Day or whatever it is, or Memorial Day, whatever it is. And so that was the biggest issue. The one in the middle, there is that's something wrong on the bottom there. It says the pre-K welcome day. is
So
made to-
you
yeah,
need to, I didn't say this, I didn't give my disclaimer, sorry, Dawn,
Yeah,
and I have it written right here. So pre-K, you need to cross those dates out
okay,
because those are not accurate.
okay, because the.
Don provided the
the first one,
information and we
yeah.
didn't get the calendars changed.
Okay, so but the first day of school is basically gonna be on the 18th. Because it says here,
If we go with this calendar.
okay, because it says July 19th and
Yeah.
here the 18th is circled. That's, okay, so we're good.
Well, and pre-K is gonna be different because they have different requirements
No,
and
I
different
understand that.
hours. That's why we've got to set the base calendar and then we'll come in and we'll lay in the pre-K calendar.
Okay, but then the school starts the 18th, not the 19th. Here it says the 19th, right? It says,
School starts the 18th.
yeah, first full instructional day is on the 19th.
Where?
Are you under pre-K located?
Pre-K.
Which one are you looking at?
The middle one?
This one? Mine doesn't say that. It says July 18th is the first day of school for all students K-12.
I think it's down under the pre-K, but
Under the-
she's saying,
Oh, okay.
she's
Just
saying
cross it
cross
out.
all of
Okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
Cross it off
I just
because
wanna
it's
make
not
sure.
accurate.
Cross the whole calendar for pre-K.
The whole calendar for pre-K gets crossed off because we didn't incorporate
Okay, that's.
Don's recommendation.
and so-
Sorry.
I feel that the one in the middle, it just gives everybody a chance to unwind. I think it's perfect. I'll be there. It's one of the best calendars I've seen, and we've seen a lot of them. So I think that one gives the people that want to start early a chance to start early and the people and get off early. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. But we're adding the 30 minutes and every single calendar, right?
Mhm.
So.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
time, you can see that the time is it'll be 6.3 hours per day for grades K through 5 and 7 hours for 6 through 8 and 7.25. So that is a 30-minute increase for every grade, yes.
Charity,
Yes, ma'am.
is that the calendar that you said?
Yes, ma'am. The
But
one
I-
that ends before Memorial Day.
Mhm.
And somebody told me a great way to remember it. Memorial is May. They will start with
One
it.
more, okay, there we go. One more. I never
Oh, did you
remember.
say-
Labor Day or Memorial, whatever it is. It's one of them.
I didn't even
And all the teachers told me that.
But I don't know, there's nothing perfect. I mean, there
No,
really isn't. We're gonna try to do the best, and then we gotta work around what Ped wants to also, so. And so
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm
The
sorry.
parents that I heard from, I was surprised to hear that they wanted their kids to come to school more. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That is good.
And we are gonna make it mandatory that they start, yeah, I think.
And
it's
all
important.
schools will start at the same time with the exception of pre-K,
Yeah.
just because their program's a little different. They'll have a welcome day, they'll have home visits.
Welcome
There'll be things that happen that are a little different. And then their students don't come on Fridays. That's when their teachers and staff reach out to families. They do the paperwork and the assessment stuff that has to be done. So parent engagement, I think you have 80 hours, 90 hours of parent engagement.
90 hours of parent engagement, but 900 hours of instruction. And right now we're at 980, which is great. We're going above and beyond what is required. But can I? do you let
Absolutely.
me address them? I think the confusion you saw in that, and I know that we'll talk about pre-K later, when the calendar is embedded, but the welcome day, it was planned on the 18th, and then families come and go. Maybe they'll stay an hour, usually not longer than that. And so that happens all day. And then the next day is the full instruction day. And we have found that helps kids and parents transition a lot easier.
That makes sense.
That makes sense, okay.
I did want to add one more thing that I forgot to share is regardless of which calendar people were on when they talked to me, they basically said that we would like to have continuity. And again, the idea of the 2-year calendar came up. So I think whether we decide on the balanced calendar or the other calendar, I think people would appreciate it if it was kind of a long-term decision. And I did explain to them that we just got thrown with the 25-day thing several weeks ago. So it's,
Yeah.
even if we had adopted a calendar earlier, we would have had to change it.
And one of the things to consider, and I mean, we would like the same thing. We would like to
Right,
keep the same
exactly.
thing. However, this is only 1-year funding. So
Definitely.
could it not come back next year? It could. I mean, that's a very real possibility. And if it's not funded by Public Education Department, we can't do it. We can't afford it. So that's what we have to, whichever one we go
Yes.
with, there just has to be that understanding that we may have to peel back a little bit.
No, exactly. I think if that happened, then it seems
We
like,
modify,
yes, would be to make the summer longer. And it seems like
of course.
the rest of the calendar could still kind of remain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just one more note, Vicky, on that, right there, it says the first quarter. We're starting on July 26th. We need to change that to the 19th.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
these
Yeah.
things were in here based on the other
Okay, yeah, the other
feedbacks
feedback,
and
okay.
yeah, it was the first round
So
of
that'll get
calendars.
changed to the.
So I
18th,
would,
yeah.
I would kind of ignore the,
Okay, the other
the,
stuff. okay.
yeah, because we have different options.
Okay.
Yes, so we would clean those up for sure.
Ms. Cameron, I think you were gonna say something.
Well, I think we have to take into account all the accountability things that we have to happen. But I do think we also need to take into account what our employees, our teachers especially, are asking for, because they're the ones that they're going to come to work and do their best at all times. But if they feel this is something that better meets their schedule and helping their it also helps their children too, because they're, understanding and pleased with it. So I know it's hard
Right.
for years.
And I'll say from the administrator perspective, there were some who liked one over the other, but in general, I think the consensus was we like these calendars better. Like we could live with all of them. And we could make it work. So, I mean, I think just, again, I think we should have federal holidays off, but that's my personal opinion. We don't have federal holidays off all of them off when we end on May 24th. And why is it President's Day that we've chosen not to honor? I don't know. That just it's uncomfortable for me. I think if we're going to honor federal holidays, we should honor federal holidays. But again, we can support any of them. We'll make any of them work. And we'll do what we need to do. So I think in general, it boils down to what you guys want to do.
And we couldn't start early so we can have that federal holiday. We
So-
couldn't start on the 15th or something like that.
We are. I mean, we are
Or
starting.
a
So
week.
then we'd have to pull staff back to the 8th.
I see.
And then we're dealing with the principal issue. Like, when are they gonna come and get ready for school? They need to have at least 2 to 3 days before staff comes back so that they can prepare. The secretaries need time to come back so that they can get ready for registrations and everything that happens. All while staff is going through PD or getting their rooms ready. We've got loads of kids, families coming in to register and to check things out. And so we need to have a set time for them to be able to do that. So the ending May 24th shortens that time for administrators. And so, but again, there is a few days there that we can work with. We have July 4th, that is a holiday. I will say that the balance calendar really prevents our administrators from coming back in time to prepare. They have the
Yeah.
1st and the
Oh.
5th.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
that's good to know.
So I would recommend this not be considered,
Okay.
that we actually look at these two specifically. And I mean, again, administrators said this today, principals said this today, we'll make any calendar work. We like that. Just please consider the fact that we do still have to come back 2 to 3 days earlier, and we're going to have to work on the other end. So they have to get, elementary principals have to get 10 days added to this. Secondary principals and assistant principals have to add 20 days. So they've got front and back. That's it. This is all the time they have to do that. So those are just things to consider.
So Ms. Chavez, I'm also looking at the second calendar, the 24th one.
Okay.
It also doesn't give us Indigenous Peoples' Day off as a holiday. It's an
Which is
in-service,
in
it's
March.
October,
Wait, let me look.
used to be Columbus Day.
Federally, it is still Columbus Day. You're right. And
Right.
Indigenous Peoples' Day in New Mexico.
Right.
October 10th?
Yes.
that it?
Yes. So that would be the same as President's Day. I'm just pointing that out for us to think about
Okay.
because that's the same issue.
It's a hard decision, I guess. I don't know.
It really is. There's a lot of things to
We
take into.
moved, just as Charity brought up, in order to give us a full week of Thanksgiving, we work those days to do that. So your only option is to,
Flip them.
Either come in earlier, stay later.
or only have 3 days of Thanksgiving
Or
instead of
only-
a week.
Well, and I'll go back to that. The surveys were very much keep fall break, keep Thanksgiving break.
Mhm.
Like, don't mess
Mess
with
with
those.
those.
Don't change those from 5 days to 3 days, or don't mess with those. But they also said federal holidays, which is why this first calendar came to be, is that they asked for federal holidays. So, but I want to look at it because I want to check and see, we didn't give Columbus/Indigenous Day off either
Oh,
in
you're right.
that one. So that got missed, obviously.
And I do know, working for the state, we don't get President's Day off because, well, it's observed the day after Thanksgiving, which is a little bit bizarre, but that way you get Thursday and Friday off, so.
So they moved the holiday.
They moved the holiday. I don't think anyone approved it,
maybe
they
we
just
should
did
move
it.
all our
Yeah.
holidays. What do you
The people that are supporting the one that's the May 25th, are they okay with not having them holidays off?
Yeah, most of the teachers, like I said, their primary thing is, I don't want to come back after Memorial Day.
So how many teachers is that? Like, when you really think of the numbers? Because it's probably from my end, maybe 15, 20.
But I'm gonna say, the survey didn't ask how important is it to end for Memorial Day. So even though people said, yeah, federal holidays are right, it's because a lot of people don't understand that you've got to have trade-offs.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The one thing that I got called, and I got called a lot, was they didn't want to go into June.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
wanted to see that whole month of June off. That's what I got. but I don't know, I mean, this is the issue.
Then ending May 24th is the calendar to approve.
You know, but I don't know, you know what I'm saying? It's a hard decision. We're put in this position to do it, and
Yeah.
some people feel that it's right, and some people it's, I mean, it's.
You're not gonna
yeah.
please
You
everybody.
can't, there's no way. I
No,
mean,
there's no way. Everybody has an opinion.
We don't have
Yeah.
enough time in this calendar to please everybody.
I mean, and then the survey was 50-50. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
You know,
it is. It's split for sure.
so it's,
So let me just ask one more question. So if we're doing parent-teacher conferences at night, then why do we have those 2 days on there?
To account for the 7.5 hours. So the way I tell teachers consistently, and it's in the CBA, is that teachers owe the school 7.5 hours for
That
parent-teacher
day.
conference day. And then each school decides how they will distribute that time.
Okay,
So the high school this year did 2 hours Wednesday, 2 hours Thursday, and 3 hours, 3.5, whatever, 3 hours on Friday morning. In the past, we've done 4 hours on Thursday and then the 3.5 on Friday. I know the elementaries do after school throughout the whole week that week, Monday through Thursday, and they make individual appointments with parents during those 4
Okay.
days.
okay,
So
so,
If I may,
yes, sure, sure.
another thing, the thought behind flexing the parent-teacher conference throughout the week is accommodating the parents that work in the evening so they can come that Friday morning. So having those different.
Those
times
different
available.
times.
Yes,
They
no,
would
that makes
accommodate
sense.
more.
I'm super in favor of that. I just wonder if when we, and this doesn't matter for now, but if when we print the calendar, if we shouldn't call that parent-teacher conference, if every school's doing something different. I don't know how we would reflect that on here, but I'm just thinking, I was a parent and looked at that, I would think that's when my parent-teacher conference is, and my kid doesn't go to school,
Okay.
you know
But
what
if
I'm
it's
So-
saying?
May that day, I mean, if that's the day you needed to come in, that day you would have, it would be available to you.
But you're thinking if
Okay.
we just presented it differently. So when we submit the calendar to the state, it's a little different than this,
Okay.
what they require. We might, for our purposes, be able to think of something a little different. But for the state's purposes, we can only count that as an instructional day if it's called parent-teacher conference.
Okay, okay, I'm on board with that. I just thought it might be confusing.
I think it could be.
Maybe you could just write in there flex week,
plus, yeah,
Flex
Yeah.
day?
flex day,
or
yeah,
flexible week or whatever.
for
Yeah.
parent teacher.
Or you could put parent-teacher conference all week as a sub
Yeah.
thing.
See
I
your
don't know.
school
and-
site for parent-teacher conference information.
Yeah,
There you go. Yeah,
Under parent.
And we just say students don't attend that day.
yeah.
because everybody likes, they do, every school does something different now.
Well, they're similar. They're just like Charity said, elementary does it all week long after school because they see, I mean, they schedule appointments with every single parent. High school, secondary, they have 180 kids, so it's a little different. Parents can schedule those conferences, but I think they did it this last time by period, where your first period, I can't remember the system, but if you were, yes. And so if you were
Yeah.
failing, they made sure there were appointments made, but then there was an option to also reach out and schedule your own appointment. So,
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good. I'm glad they're doing that.
yes. I think this last one went much smoother in terms of the plans and everything that happened. Mr. Sines, you can probably speak more to what happened at secondary, because you guys were consistent, six.
Yeah, last
through
year,
12.
Wednesday, we just had 1 hour. Thursday, we went to 3 hours, and then Friday, we went to 1.
Right.
Just so we can make it, this
Okay.
time, we went from 4 to 6, and then 8:30 to 12:30. And they had teachers that already been talking to parents on that Wednesday morning or that afternoon. And then even the planning day before that, because
Yes.
that was that Friday. So
So,
they were already making phone calls and.
right. And one of the
Good.
things that I think, in terms of expectations, again, I feel like, I think that if we plan these planning times, one of the expectations is, are parents being contacted when they're failing?
Mhm.
Are they aware of it? Are grades posted and updated? And I think our secondary is working really hard to make sure that's happening, so that families can be informed of what's going on with their child's education. So,
That's good.
yeah. Those planning days made a big difference for being able to do that. We had some slippage with grades not being posted on time and parents didn't really know where kids were at. And that's when we came back together and said, let's figure out a way to make this a better process for parents to be able to be involved. So I think this semester's been better.
So one more question. I'm
Sure.
kind of skipping ahead. I apologize. There's just a lot to think about with the
There
calendar,
is.
but so I know we're going to talk about teacher attendance later on the planning days. Do you think this calendar with it ending on May 24th?
Will help.
Yes,
Probably.
or doesn't? I mean, it looks like there's not.
I mean, I think it's a
That many
personal
on
preference. I
Friday.
think we have a mindset that we have to finish before Memorial Day and it's gonna take time if you were to choose the other one. And we ended on June 1st. I mean, it'll take time for people to get in that mindset. I don't know. It probably will help though, because there is just a mindset that we end before Memorial Day. It's just the way it is.
But like Mr. Cole said, it seems like on Fridays attendance goes down. So I was looking, I mean, it looks like, I guess in the fall, those days are not on a Friday. I just didn't know if you thought there was any
So
planning days we needed
I
to
can give you the
change.
staff attendance information. This last staff attendance day, our planning day, which was March 4th, we had 82 absent all day across the district and 8 had half-day absences. In February, we had 59 full-day absences and 3 half-day absences. And I agree with Charity that I think there's probably some procedures we can put in place to say, emergencies, absolutely, those things are going to happen. And we don't ever want folks to feel like they can't handle a personal dilemma. We don't ever want them to feel that way. But at the same time, we can't take advantage of it either. If we go to one of these when we approve one of these calendars, we'll be one of the only districts in the state that has 19 days for our staff. Half of those will be PD days, but half will be for them to be able to do their planning. I think that's pretty innovative. But I think it's needed. And so I hope our staff will recognize that, yes, taking time off when kids aren't there probably is the right thing. And if you have an emergency, it is better for kids to have you there than to be gone. But we have to be careful because we have to show this works.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we have to show. We have to show that our kids get better instruction, that our kids have better prepared teachers and lessons, that families are informed. We have to make sure that it's working and that we have better outcomes for our kids.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge investment.
That's going to be a great recruiting tool too.
Ms. Ruddle even said she was excited to be able to say, look at what you're going to get when you come here, because we value your time. So
do you think there's any difference in the December 2nd date being an in-service versus like Monday the 5th? Or no, it's not going to matter because we're
I
going to
don't
address
know.
that anyway?
Charity, do you think that would make any difference?
No, because like I said, it
I
goes
don't
back
think it
to, I
would.
mean, we can say that you shouldn't miss a day except for an emergency, but the truth is people have days that throughout the year, like I said, either it be a mental health day or doctor's appointment day, they're going to take a day.
Yeah.
And you have to be really careful to craft the message of, is it unacceptable to take it on a planning day? Then I won't take it on a planning day. I'll take it when you have to pay us up.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and I don't think it really matters the day of the week that that's gonna happen.
And we need to remember that, 59 out of 840, like 59 full days in February out of 840 staff, this is everybody.
Okay.
So this was a district-wide data. It's a custodian, it's a facilities person, it's a nurse, it's not just teaching staff and it's not just EAs. This is, yes, it went up significantly in March, almost 30 more people took off. and took off for either sick or personal. It was not, I pulled out if they were out for PD or they were out for leave with students like coaches and things like that. So I pulled those things out. I mean, 82 divided by 840 people, I want to say is like a 30%. I don't know. Did I do the math right? Huh?
10%.
Sorry, 10%. It's like a 10% absent. Thank you. 30, 800, 10%. Thank you. I don't know where I got 30 from. About 10%. I was just trying to do it off the cuff of my head and
Trying to show off.
Show off. I was
Right.
trying to show off and I got caught. It's a 10% attendance rate. 10%
Okay.
absent rate. So 90% came.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a really positive thing to think about too. So those are the things we have to kind of weigh it with, but because we have a large staff, 5% seems like a lot, because when you look at the
Right.
actual number,
Right.
it seems like a huge number, or 10% seems like a
Yeah.
lot. So as long
Okay.
as we're getting the outcomes, I think we should push forward and be accountable to that.
And that also means all those people weren't using that as planning time
That's
because
right.
they're not all teachers.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, one thing I might say is that if calendar 2, right, is what the
Ending May 24th. Yes.
wanted,
Or well, yeah.
and maybe in my experience, when I was in the schools, is it was more, okay, the calendar, all right, it's approved, no matter what, there's not a lot of accountability. And maybe the expectation is that we show that we can do what we need to do within that time, and because I know I'm not putting teachers down,
Yeah.
but to see if we're not accomplishing what we need, then that's when we may need to
Make
look at a
adjustments.
change and do it another way, is one way to look.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
I get a
don't
good
like to-
point for one.
Yes, you do, because it reminds me, we don't want to penalize the whole
Right.
for a few.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If we're
That's a
getting,
good point.
especially if we're getting the right, the outcomes we need. So,
And I
Yes.
think if we were to go with this calendar, whichever calendar, I think the superintendent can address why we chose it, and and that we took in account what our everyone is telling us that they want. And then if it doesn't work, then we may have to do the next year, then
Yeah.
try it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because this is going to be the first time we're going to get them, 19 days that the staff's going to get.
and some of that's PD. I mean, some of that will be, we have new language arts curriculum that they'll be using this next year. Our math scores, we need significant improvement in our math scores. There are, I won't say requirements, but there is innovation that PED expects to see in a K-12 system. So are we, and I asked our principals today to start thinking about what kind of innovative things they might do. Several have said they want to really learn how to do more project-based learning, which I totally support. That's going to take training and time. Those things don't just get built by themselves. Those units of study and those experiences of that go along with it. So I think it's going to be much needed in terms of getting it ready. Yeah. So, but I'm excited about the possibilities.
Right.
I'm
No, we are
really
too.
excited about like the opportunity we have.
I think as a board, we're really excited to bring change and see what new ideas can help our students and our teachers and
Yeah.
families.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
perfect. Other comments or questions? I probably talked too long. Sorry.
no, it's all good. It's all good. It helps us think, the diversity of, no, seriously, the questions and the diversity of comments, it just helps us think through how to make, just helps us
Yeah.
think through things. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too, honestly. Is there a motion?
I will make the motion that we approve the calendar 2.
I'll second it.
The one that's ending May 24th?
Yes. The one,
Which,
I need you to say it that way, please.
the one that's ending May 24th.
I'll second that.
and Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Orozco? Yes. Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes.
Yay, we have a
Yay.
calendar.
I just want to say, and Mr. Parker couldn't be here this evening, but he wanted me to thank everyone. He took the lead on facilitating the meetings, getting them organized, and he just is very grateful for all the feedback. The 1,200 people who gave us initial information on what they wanted for a calendar, that was a huge turnout. And so I just want to thank you guys, and I want to thank our staff and everyone who took the survey.
Could I say something too?
Sure.
I think it's important because our teachers have gone through so much during the past years, you know, with the COVID and in and out and out and in, and for them to hear that all of us, not just the board, but all of us heard their needs, and that they feel that we do support them. And one way we can is through a calendar that they have been part of developing, and so I just think it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a reward, but it's that we listen. They've gone through so much. We have to listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, and now I've lost the agenda. Let's see. I got very distracted there. Okay, superintendent report. So that's easy. Turn it back over to Ms. Chavez.
So we're gonna have this is the first reading of policy 269, emergency and safe leave. The last month when we met, which wasn't that long ago, there were some questions about parts that were not up for discussion regarding the emergency leave. And so the only change, the safe leave has remained the same as it was last month. However, that we did change up in the emergency leave, birth of a child to the employee or the employee spouse, to be more clear about that. So I think that was a recommendation. And so this is the first reading of this. And so we'll stand for any questions.
Anybody have any questions? I know we went over it
Yeah,
last time. too,
Yeah.
so. Okay, so we'll put it on the agenda for next month. Super.
Yes, and we'll approve it then. The next item, Madam Chair, members of the board, are student attendance rates. And we provided, I believe, rates by school. Ms. Trejo is here. I don't know if you have anything to add to it or anything. I don't know if you looked at these or.
I've just seen it, but I know what they are.
But as you look at it, you can see that our elementary schools had an 87%. This is from February 14th to March 3rd is what we were looking at. And I'll probably make this a standard report because it is something I know we need to work on.
Right.
And we've got to figure out how to get our kids back.
One thing that we are doing is through Graduation Alliance, we have a partnership with them, and it's called Engage New Mexico. It started during the pandemic, and they reach out to families to provide support. Right now, we have 800 students that are participating in it, and they provide, just support,
Right.
checking in with them, you name it, tutoring, whatever they
gonna
need.
say they have
But we do
homework
have
help too.
800. We've referred about 1,200, and it's based on the number of absences they've missed. So if they're missing 10% or more of the school year, they automatically get referred. But we do have a lot of families participating in it. It's been a struggle.
Can you tell me a little more about the support they're getting from our local or from other
The
sources?
student success liaisons.
From the liaisons,
Mhm.
we just barely, and I just onboarded them all last week. We now have a truancy person or a liaison or a mentor in every building. Thank you for, or Ms. Chavez for supporting that, but it has been great. We're just trying to reach out to the families, see what they need, provide, outreach to other agencies if we need to. We heard from a guest speaker last week. It was from the drug court. Just trying to get the students back in school. It's hard right now, but we're gonna try and hit the ground running next year and head this off before it gets to this point.
Thank you, Chair.
What are we trying to hit on the percentage rate? What's the goal? 90?
Yeah, 92, 95 or above. It used to be 95% we needed to have attendance rate, but
Yeah. So 90 would be amazing.
90 would be amazing.
So these are 80 in the 80s, right?
We're close. I mean,
I have another question. Have we compared the rates from like before the pandemic to this? That's okay. I don't
We
expect,
were in the 90s before the pandemic.
Okay.
I couldn't pull, I don't.
that's okay. I just think it would be maybe good next year to see, to have this to compare with the increase that we're going to see in attendance. Is that positive?
The struggle this year, a lot of it also has been to quarantine and things
Right.
like that,
Mhm.
family members get sick and things, and kids just stay home and we don't know that they're quarantined, so it's been a lot of communication.
Yeah.
part of that.
I guess what I'm saying is that we start a trend,
Right.
keeping a trend of each year.
Mhm.
And,
I can get that information to Ms. Chavez. for
so I just think that, and then is when we have a year, maybe that's down, but,
Right.
how it compares.
Do you have any information by chance about statewide? Is it pretty par with the other districts, or are we lower than most?
I don't have that information. I haven't seen it. I can try and reach out.
I've heard, I don't have that hard data either, but I have heard on our superintendent calls, just people saying similar things as far as our attendance is, we've got a lot of chronic absences and it's just getting back into the
group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Yes.
that's probably.
it could be.
I think so too,
Mhm.
yeah.
I think
And I think Ms. Trejo's right. If,
next year.
if you start hard at the beginning,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe
and
there won't be
I don't
this
mean my remarks
attitude.
as critical, I just, criticism, I
no.
just, think if we start seeing the trim, then we can
Right.
look if if we fall again. But I do believe the pandemic is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And I think having a liaison or a mentor in every building will
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
because
It's
Charles was
fantastic.
dealing with 4 schools, 3 or 4 schools, and that's hard. When you've got Red Mountain, it's got 800 students as it is, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby had probably 1,500 students and he's trying to monitor, so.
Right. That's
It's a lot, so this is
Awesome.
helping.
Good.
And if you hear consistent things that are barriers for them coming to school, let us know and
Yes.
we'll figure out a solution.
And that's why we prioritize some of the ESSER money and the ARP money to help support these kids and get people, because it's the relationship. We've said that all along. We need people just reaching out and talking to them, and it's not possible unless we have the bodies to do it, to help us with that. So,
Because after a while, they think no one cares anyway, so.
Yeah, right.
May I address the board on that? Comment, Mary Lou? Ms. Cameron, I think when we focus on staff, showing up all the time, I think the kids are gonna see that, getting back to that work ethic.
Great point.
And I'm sorry, I keep hearing mental health days, but to me, that's Saturday, Sunday, and
Holidays.
so, and I'm fortunate that my family has been well and hasn't had crisis, so I have a lot of days banked that I can, what do you do when you give them to somebody else? Donate, thank you. So I can donate those days, but also I've been fortunate the last few years to cash some of those in And my question is, I think the practice is that you need to have 10 years in to start that process to cash in days, and it comes nicely around Christmas time, a couple extra bucks. And I don't know if we can lower that maybe to 5 years or something so that people start, banking those and, I don't know, that's just a thought.
I think that's a really good point.
I think
actually.
so
It is,
too.
that could be
Yeah.
a good incentive.
Yeah,
It's definitely something we should look at. I'm
Even
sure
just
Ms. Doyle.
recognition. I know that you have a school year where you haven't missed a day. Even just a certificate that you can put on the wall that says, man, you're the perfect attendance teacher in this hall, or whatever it is. I mean, that's just, it just speaks volumes. So
Yeah, that's a
I
good.
agree with what Mrs. Leah saying is kind of get back to recognizing that attendance, that perfect attendance, and yeah, we are gonna need days where we gotta go ahead and take care of some things. But I think we've got to get back to being in that classroom so that the kids will be there and know. 'cause they
Mr.
lose
Sines
their-
and the others do you think that if some way, if, say, we gave certificates, if the board was somewhat involved in that, to see that others are seeing it from recognizing it as well? I don't mean all of us go to every, but either that or write a letter or do something to just put that behind, to not put that behind, but
For me personally, that my first 5 years here, my first year was an adjustment because I wasn't used to all the dust and all that. So I missed maybe 2 or 3 days. But I'll tell you, after that, I had 5 years where I had perfect attendance. And I got a certificate too, and so
yeah,
I took pride in hanging that up in my room for.
Yeah.
To show my parents when they came into my room that, hey, I'm here for your kids.
if I'm
That's
attending, you
good to
can
know.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, thank
something
you.
And I think too, when you have days banked and you're thinking, oh, they're wasted. No, those are the days that you, I guess, donated to kids. Those days mean something. They're not lost.
Right,
that's the truth.
right.
I agree with that.
Y'all have really good input. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's something we should think about
Appreciate
doing.
you guys being here.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
appreciate that.
Really good input.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to you. Ms.
Okay.
Chavez.
Well, with that, it is definitely going to be one of our goals that we keep working towards. But on item number C, Madam Chair and members of the board, I just wanted to give you an update that our COVID numbers, if you've been watching them, continue to drop. We have maybe one every couple of days, so we're doing really well. There was a new toolkit that came out this afternoon. I haven't had time to read it. It came out about 3:30, I think, and there's some additional things that are going to be happening with that. So we'll be digging into that and loosening some other requirements.
Oh,
and
okay.
there's some other things that are happening, but I just read the highlights and have not actually read. So I'll be sending out a new toolkit, everyone. I also wanted you to know that I am serving on a behavioral health advisory team. We are working on a town hall on behavioral health that will be provided. It's a statewide town hall, June 15th and 16th in Albuquerque. And the whole idea is around behavioral health related to wellness, as well as just overall wellness, healthy choices, but also the mental health issues as well, and especially access to mental health. So this town hall is a statewide input meeting that we are going to then take what we learned from that and then build some work for the state of New Mexico around mental health. I feel like that's a really important, when I was asked, I felt like it was really important in this area. And it was important that they have a rural voices on there. So, and Southern voices, not just Northern.
So you can get it and remember it.
Yeah.
Very
So,
good.
So I just wanted you all to know about that. We talked about the staff attendance. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to jump to staffing. We talked about the staff attendance. We also are going to enter into an MOU with Colores United, and Mr. Chavez is here to kind of answer any questions and of course, give you a little overview.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. In effort and collaboration with our community organizations and strengthening with partnerships, we were given and tasked by PED to create partnerships with outside agencies to provide services above and beyond that the district can sometimes take care of. And one of our strongholds, and there are many in Deming, but one of our strongholds is Colores United. And some of the services that they provide kind of are right in line with what we're trying to accomplish within, the Department of Equity and of course, Deming Public Schools. We are looking to partner with them as you all have the opportunity to read in this MOU, is to provide services outside of the norm. In regards to like an emergency family that's in need of food and it's not at the time, we also give boxes of food once a month to our most needy children in our department. But this is in an emergency setting, they can go to Colores United and pick up food. This is going to help us just work with collaboration to provide some of those wraparound services and to get this done. I just want to just a few little shout outs, of course, Crystal Gonzalez and from the Department of Equity, Mr. Turner and Mrs. Parnell, we kind of put our heads together and to kind of create this in collaboration with Ariana Saunders. We've come across more and more high level issues in regards to our homeless population. And then I think it's COVID related. I think it's at the time of the pandemic where we're really struggling working from home and to provide services. But now that we're back, some of these cases are very difficult. We had a family that was misplaced and needed emergency assistance to pay for a hotel stay, for example. It takes channels to get some of that done within the district and within our procurement rules. And Leslie loves me, but anyways, so we have these things just pop up real quick, and if it's on an emergency basis, I need access to help a family at another level. This MOU with Colores United will somehow assist us not to ever, we can just rely on them to provide the service, document, hold them accountable for finances, meet with them on a quarterly basis to ensure that the money being used is going towards our homeless population, Deming Public School students on a quarterly basis. So I don't know if y'all stand for any questions.
I did have a question. So how many McKinney-Vento students do you guys serve right now?
We are approximately at 268 students.
And so the MOU is for $9,000 for almost 10,000?
It's almost 10,000.
Yeah, so do you know how many of the students will be using that assistance?
That's on, it's not gonna be ear tag per child per se. It's on a case by case basis. It's all dependent on their situation. If there's we've had fires, as we know, in the community. So sometimes we're gonna tap into them to assist us to help the families.
Yeah,
if we can't do it within the means of the grant. We are utilizing ARP dollars, so it is soft money. And so this is why we created this as well, because we do have the opportunity to the extra funding to be able to support, because since you helped run this for so long and taught me a lot that I knew, now. The McKinney-Vento grant that we get yearly is approximately $30,000. That means not much money. So receiving 100,000 more for this year, where this is coming from.
Yeah, well, the reason I was asking is because if you break it down by student, that's only like $29 a student. So, see how it works, and possibly there, if the students might need more services, When it comes to the wraparound, I know that that is very, very intensive work. It's not something that just, that can be done with a small budget. So it takes a lot of people, it takes a lot of work to do the wraparounds, and it sure definitely takes a lot of work when it comes to case management. So that, yeah, so.
So it would really be the higher level or harder
Higher level.
situations that are referred to.
And then when it comes to like parent participation, so when it comes to confidentiality and those kinds of things, how is that going to be handled through the
And that's within the MOU. We did talk about confidentiality within us providing and then keeping that list of students very private between them and us. We were not going to give them a list of McKinney-Vento students per se. What we're doing is a referral service to them. So if they get from one of our mentor liaisons, calling them saying, I need you to help this, can you please help this family out with what they need? Then they know that they're already gear tagged as McKinney-Vento. So they don't necessarily need to have their information per se. They'll just know that they're already cleared to provide those services because they've been identified and intakes have been done at that level.
Yeah, so those kinds of things can be done possibly like through a release of information with the family for Colores United. So those are just things to think about, because I know that this is a beginning, but when you come to building it, it needs to be done in a way that is careful when it comes to confidentiality and those kinds of things. Because I know personally with the homeless students, it is very complicated. There's nothing easy about it. So it's a very intense kind of
As
service.
the population is growing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing it grow.
Oh, yeah, after COVID, I'm sure. It was tough enough before COVID, so I can't even imagine right now. You guys have, it's a big job that you guys have, and you guys have really worked hard, so.
And we still miss it. But
Oh. Thank you.
So that's not any items that you need to vote on because it's under 60,000, but we did want you to be aware of our partnership with them. I think it's important that you know the work happening. So I'll move on if that's okay, Madam
Yes,
President, members of the
absolutely.
board. We'll move on to facilities. I just wanted to let you know that we applied to PSFA for My Little Schools edition. Ms. Dawn is very excited about. That's a $4.4 million project to upgrade, add classrooms, give them a multi-purpose room, and then repurpose the maze that they have in the old part of the building. If you haven't been there, you should go see it because it is quite interesting. And what we've asked for from the state is a 61% match to a 39% match. So we would be paying 1.7 million. The state would be providing 2.6. On Monday, I go to PSFA and they have their meeting in the afternoon Saturday on Monday in Santa Fe. And I'll stand for questions and I'll learn if we are going to be funded Monday. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Pretty excited about that.
Yes, fingers crossed, right?
Yep, please. And then I wanted to also let
Can
you.
we Zoom that?
I don't know if they have it on Zoom or not. I haven't seen that, but they want me in person. Okay, so the other thing going on, facilities, big item is our HVAC upgrades to Baton and Red Mountain. We're using ESSER 2 money, totally approved finally yesterday to completely pay for that through. It's going to be about $800,000, a little over $800,000 to upgrade those swamp coolers that they have in their gyms and their cafeteria, wherever they are located. I think it's their gyms, to upgrade those to refrigerated air. So that's moving forward. We've approved the design and moving forward. And then that's it for my updates. Any
That's
questions?
No?
All right.
Sounds good. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to announcements. There's any requests for agenda items for next month? Okay, you can always email and ask later also, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so our next meeting will be April 21st at 6 PM. And then we also have an executive session on the agenda for tonight, which would include discussion of limited personnel matters, specifically regarding the superintendent's contract. Oh, okay. I was a little confused where it said no action would be taken, but then it
In
says,
executive.
yes, in executive session, but there will be action taken,
Yes.
or at least we expect there to be once we return to open session. So is there a motion regarding executive session?
I make a motion that we move into executive session.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Kroll?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mrs. Paredes?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes. And guys, thank you so much for being here.
Yes. In case you don't stay, we do appreciate y'all being here. Okay, so it's 8:11 and we just finished closed session and no action was taken there. Is there first a motion to come out of executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mrs. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Okay, and then had the issue of the superintendent's contract. Is there any discussion or motion?
No, I'd like to make a motion that we renew Mrs. Chavez's contract, or we extend Mrs. Chavez's contract for another 2 years.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Cole?
Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mrs. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Okay. My contract will be extended.
Going to be the longest running superintendent we've had. in a while.
And so with that, then we are completed our agenda for today. So is there a motion to close?
I make a motion that we close.
There a second?
I'll second it if you're all looking at me.
Mr. Kroll,
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am. Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mrs. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr.